Welcome back to the Command Stack. Today we have all four of us present, which has been a while. So with us today is myself, John.
And I'm Garrett.
And I'm Ken.
And I'm Ryan.
Very cool. We have another tournament that we're going to talk about. This was the one that just took place up in Canada.
That's right. The St. Laurent Open, I think.
St. Lawrence Open.
Yeah, St. Lawrence.
Which Karnak himself flew down to TO. I think.
They like raised money to bring him out there, which was pretty awesome actually for him and them. He is a celebrity to bring out.
Do we know if he was in his director Karnak or Krennic outfit or director Karnak? That's funny. Do we know if he was posing in his director Krennic outfit?
That I do not know. I know I've seen pictures of him taking pictures of tables, but I don't remember seeing if he was in any of the photos.
Yeah, I'm scrolling here to see if I could catch one, but I don't think he was.
I think when I talked to him last, he was thinking about it. Now, whether or not he does,
I know he lost his luggage, which was very unfortunate when you're traveling technically international, so he wasn't able to stream it or anything like that, which is sad because we lost out on some good content that people could watch high level play.
No, completely agree. It's a bummer anytime. I know in the past when people have lost their luggage, we've been able to help out with ships or armies and whatnot. But man, video equipment, that's not something you could just come out of fresh thin air,
No, you cannot.
They did eventually find it for him, it sounds like. So
that's good.
That's a plus.
It was a day late though for what was important.
Right,
but at least he still has it. Yeah. Okay. Ryan, I believe you have some news for us.
Hot off the presses for some people. AMG sent out an organized play email saying, hey, we know you previously indicated to us that you have a Worlds ticket. Click on this link to let us know you're coming. We need to figure out how much space we have. I think how much space we need for Adepticon. I think the issue is John and I didn't get that email because we have Worlds tickets, but I think it was clearly an email directed at people who had filled out a survey for AMG maybe a year and a half ago, saying, because they were kind of doing an audit of who had tickets. And I think maybe they haven't updated the list. I don't really know. I know a couple of people I've talked to who didn't get an email who have Worlds tickets are slightly concerned and don't really know what to do, because I think we all kind of want to let AMG know or Asmodee and let them know how much space they need. And to that point, I think it's going to be a lot of space they're going to need. I think we talked about what kind of Worlds is it going to be, and I think it's going to be a big Worlds. We just found out that the French are getting their own tournament in November as well, so they'll get four Worlds tickets. So that'll be exciting too.
Yeah, we've had a lot of European World qualifiers recently. I think we counted off like about 6 of them in the last couple of months.
UK, Germany, Poland, Scandinavia, France, Italy.
Yeah.
Spain. Did Spain get one? Actually, now I think about it.
Did you say Poland?
Poland, yep.
Poland's getting one, yeah.
I feel like Spain just had something too, but maybe it was something lower.
I know that Irish Mad Cat was talking about how he had the Spanish day when he was in Italy and faced like no one but the Spaniards. So maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Maybe so.
Yeah, so I haven't gotten an email either. So we're just kind of in the waiting game then for getting contacted. Part of me thinks that they just kind of assume that the people that recently got it are still going to be there. I'm just obviously making all this up.
You have a lot more faith in it than I do. I think it's pretty clearly someone doesn't know that new people got tickets.
That could be as well.
I think they just pulled from an email database, emailed it out, and we're like, it's Friday, 3:00. Let's go.
Yeah.
Classic corporation. Yeah. No, who knows?
I think you know what it is. It's that they're afraid that either John or Ryan is going to win, like hands down, like 10 points each game, and they think it wouldn't be good for competition. So, you guys
Yeah.
just scare them. That's what it is.
We're gonna bring the most NPE list imaginable. It's
I
it'll
was
be
thinking-
Farmhawk with Sam's onager lists. It'll be ugly.
I'm thinking about flexing. How about some Constantine lists?
I mean, why don't you just give your ticket to Garrett or something? At that
Oh, I don't know if that's
point?
it's even harsher or not. I don't know. Just all I do is dream about Farmhawks.
Well,
Okay.
Golden State Games is coming up as well. I want to mention that. So check that out. I think that'll be the last American qualifier that I know of.
Yeah.
That's the California one.
Yep.
Unless for some reason the Las Vegas Open comes out with a box of tickets.
So historically, the Las Vegas Open has been a qualifier for things in the past. So we'll have to see if, because they're sort of talking about this year, the last qualifiers, but that's technically next year, because isn't it like the end of February? So that might be the last place to get a ticket.
I
Possibly.
don't know. I think they're going to let the top 40 at LVO just get a ticket to Worlds, and we'll have 250 people at Worlds, and it'll be amazing. And we'll have one judge, which will be exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still no announcement yet if there's going to be a last chance qualifier. I wonder if the results of this survey is going to help determine if they will have a last chance qualifier or not.
Either that, or maybe
That's a
the
good point, yeah.
availability of space for Gen Con or Adepticon.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
Ken. I mean, you were there. I feel like they had a ton of tables that had Adepticon that they like. But
Was
you know
it
what?
that way all weekend though? Because I was only there on Sunday, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess when you think about it, though, like there will be Adepticon will be bigger than it is, but than it was last year for all of the games too, and so they'll have more people. X-Wing will have a ton of people, and the X-Wing at Gen Con or at Adepticon was very small. I thought wasn't very big, and they'll have like 200 people there for sure. So you're right that they do. Yeah, we got to get our tables now.
And Legion will have an actual legion of people.
Yeah. Legion was huge the last time I was at Adepticon, and that was in the first 2 years. I don't think the clone expansions had even come out yet. So there's gonna be of them. So
Yeah,
they're gonna take
that Mando Grogu hype train is real over at Legion right now.
Yes, it is. I believe, Ryan, you also have a question from Twitter for us.
Yes, we continue our quest to get up to 30 Twitter listeners or followers. We're still hanging on to 29 at the moment for at Command Stack. So we need to get one more person. Do me the favor. Let's get to 30 at Command Stack. So this is from Taserface, who's Michael Dunn, who's a great player, former U.S. national champion in Armada. He may still be a reigning one. I don't know how we consider that. His question was, what admiral in Armada is underrated currently?
So my answer to this was previously underrated, but we've been talking about him. I would say Ozzel was very underrated. His popularity has spiked, and we've been talking about how he's been underrated, I think, pretty much since the beginning of our podcast. So that's kind of my answer. Besides that, the rebels are still all controlled by the same four. The Empire hasn't really changed. The GAR are still trying to figure out what they're doing, and for the CIS, it's pretty much Martuk or go home. So
Clearly, the answer to this is Grand Moff Tarkin or Emperor Palpatine, right? Oh.
I wish they were better.
I think, yeah, I kind of think Grand Moff Tarkin is kind of, underrated. I don't know. It's kind of like his ability can keep you from needing to take Comsnet Gazantes, right? But the best use of his ability is to have a Slicer Gazanti in there. So it's kind of like it's weird, and I haven't found the right build for it. But I think he is underrated for sure.
I think the interesting thing specifically with Grand Moff target versus say Admiral target is that one key change where Admiral Tarkin can, instead of handing out a token to all the ships, can keep that as a dial for himself. So kind of like an impromptu, almost like added Thrawn ability. That would be outstanding if Grand Moff Tarkin could do something like that, but then he's choosing any dial he wants. And then he might actually be worth 38 points. We go back to the original
28.
point. Well, that's now. Wasn't he 38 before or 36?
He was, yeah. He was 38.
Something high.
In either case, the flexibility of being able to pick whatever token you want, there's a lot going on there. And especially now, there's more need for token economics in pretty much all the factions. But where you really need that is going to be in like GAR fleets.
What do you got?
I'm just gonna say Admiral Yularen for the GAR. As far as something like as far as that faction, I think there's a lot of potential there that is just extremely hard to fly. But if it hits right, Admiral Yularen with Arc 170s could be a really powerful list type. But I just don't think a lot of people are. I don't think enough people are giving the Republic a chance to grow that, I guess, strategy. You know, every time we see a tournament, there's only like 2 or 3 people flying Republic, and there's just not enough variety that people see. And the less people see it, the less people want to try it. So I'll say Admiral Yularen, because we already know that Luminara, Tarkin is your go-tos.
So
Yeah,
can I say TF 1726? Can I say he's underrated?
I don't think so. I don't know. Is he underrated?
No, he just underperforms. It's just such a cost to add all the B2s in to make him function, or you just pray that someone picks your surprise attack. So he's very hard to use. I think if we had more expansions that could pass out raid in CIS, he would be definitely up there to work really well.
If I had to pick a CIS, I'd say Dooku with those, pairing him with a guaranteed bid second player farming objective where he takes away your token ability for like engineering and stuff.
I think Dooku's having a moment. So I definitely I'm not sure he's underrated anymore. I think people are taking him. I think he's doing well, especially in like a second player focused objective kind of world. Dooku love to go first player and just throw raids on whatever, if you're doing abandoned mine facility, just throw raid engineering raids, really
Exactly.
up second players.
I honestly think Dooku, I said this right when the clones came out, but Dooku I think is the CIS's best squadron, like fighter heavy commander. And it's not because he actually helps your side in the fighter battle, but he makes it really difficult for your opponent to play squadrons by just constantly handing out raid tokens. So they have to be generating tokens to be able to command their squadrons. It can really hurt and help you win squadron battles.
All right. Well, thanks to Taserface for that question. Well, if you subscribe, if you or follow on Twitter, I guess is what it is. God, I hate Twitter. But I want you to follow me on Twitter.
We just need to make more hot, controversial tweets. That's what we need to do.
Well, we're gonna just follow, and then I'll throw another taking questions, and hopefully it won't be Taserface again. Although if it is asking a question, I won't mind it. We'll talk about it.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's now dive into this tournament. We're gonna do our standard top 4. But let's talk about like how many people, the different faction breakdowns and things like that were at this tournament. Is this another thing you have, Ryan?
I'll take it.
Perfect.
So this is courtesy of Karnak. Empire was 10 lists with 3 onagers. Rebels were 17 lists with 7 Starhawks. GAR was 3 lists. And then CIS had a nice showing with 7 lists. So 37 players total.
Yeah, that's a very good turnout. That's one of the higher turnouts of all of the qualifiers, I believe, that we've seen this year.
Yeah, and shout out to the Canadian community. I had been on their Discord, and like they really made it happen. They really worked hard with AMG, flagging them down, finding a space, and they made it happen. So a lot of credit to them for getting their own tournament.
Yeah, what I think is interesting about that number is that this might be the first tournament that we've seen CIS almost be as many players as the Empire, because 10 versus 7 is pretty close. Gar I see being kind of around the same number that we normally see. Rebels had a significantly higher turnout than we have seen, because usually it's like Rebels and Imperial are about the same, and then Gar and CS are about the same as each other, but like way lower than the Civil War era factions. So
Clearly, this is your fault, John. So you win Gen Con with the Starhawk. And Ryan, you said there was 7 Starhawk lists.
7 Starhawk list.
So see, there you go. You can probably be directly responsible for 5 or 6 Rebel lists.
So I wouldn't actually say that though. When I did a brief look through the list, I only saw like what I would call Farm Hawk. I saw a lot of like big ball hawks that want to be commanding squadrons instead of rogue. I saw a Starhawk that had Dodana and Walix as its upgrades. That entire fleet had like upgrade light across the entire thing. So I wouldn't say that just because you see the number 7 Starhawks doesn't mean that they are 7 of the Farm Hawk archetypes.
Oh, there's a Radis Starhawk.
yeah. I mean, like there's a lot of different Starhawk type things, and they're not the normal what we have been seeing the last couple of tournaments of like a Farm Hawk. There was still a Farm Hawk, but I believe there was only one of them. Everyone else had a different spin and different idea on it.
So I guess the real question is how many lists were brought that could potentially combat that Farm Hawk list? Do we have a good idea of that, or am I asking questions that we have not had an opportunity to really dive too deeply into the data?
I haven't had time to dive super deep into the data, but playing a Farm Hawk, the things that you're the most afraid of from Farm Hawks are double onager lists, which you're not going to see really any of when there's only 3 onagers in the entire tournament, unless, there's only 2 people that brought them. So the double onager is the thing that I'm probably the most scared of, because you just obliterates you at range, so you can't do your thing in the backfield. And then certain CIS lists are very good at sprinting across and killing you fast with 1,000 cuts of Martuk and like hard cells and Patriot's Fist and things like that, because it will overload your defense suite. And there were 7 CIS players, so the possibility is there that that could be one of the reasons why we're seeing more CIS players.
All right. Well, people didn't. Let's stop talking about Starhawks.
Garrett wants to. Look at his background. He has a Starhawk in it. So let's start off.
Podcast themes.
That's what's big. So let's start off with the 4th place fleet. I believe, Ken, you're going to be taking this one.
I do have that list. So this is Paul Crombean's list. It's a Gergerod list, and it's coming in at 400 points. So just based on what we've been seeing, probably doesn't care if he goes first or second, but likely is assuming he'll go first in our current bid wars that are going on. But let's get to the fleet itself. So Moff Gergerod is on an Imperial 2 Star Destroyer along with Captain Nita, probably going to swap that evade or the contain out for an evade. Gunnery team, boosted comms, electronic countermeasures, leading shots, and spinal armament. So that's going to give you just a little bit more of a punch from the front of that ISD. And with gunnery teams, okay, you do a little bit more on 2 different ships. We have a Raider in here with Corvus, and then 2 Gazantes. Both of them comes with CommsNet, and one with Hondo Onaka, who's our favorite Give Us Tokens guy. Now, let's take a look at the squadrons, because we do have a good number of them. There are 8 total squadrons. We have Darth Vader in his TIE Defender, who seems to be kind of the new popular one to bring out. Merrick Steele in a TIE Defender, and Colonel Jendon, because, you know, Steele and Jendon just always go together. Mauler Miffle for that extra one-off punch everyone that's engaged with him. And then Tempest Squadron and Saber Squadron, Gamma Squadron, and a lone TIE Fighter Squadron. And I'm assuming that one's there just to even out the total squadron deployments. So that's what, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 deployments on this list. And I don't think we have the objectives for this fleet, but I think we're all pretty confident that any of our builds will be less than 400 points. So we would likely have the opportunity to go up against it and choose second instead.
Yeah, so the question is, would you want to go first or second against this build? You're showing you had the option. I think one thing to note is it's going to be a massive Alpha Strike type fleet. It's got the one big activation, which is typically something you see out of a lot of first player fleets.
That's kind of what I was thinking, right? So when you take a look at this, you can activate 4 with the ISDs, and then you have your 2 Gazantes, which can do, you know, the other 4. By the same token, you have Vader, who's rogue. I think that's it in this list, right? For rogue, yes.
Yes.
You're still looking at having to activate, you know, at least 6 of them, because, you know, the single TIE Fighter. I'm in agreement with you, Ryan, that I do believe this is probably looking to go first. So I'd want to take that away, go first myself, and then just concentrate everything I have on that ISD too, because that's where the bulk of your points are, in 178 points. So if you can take that down, I mean, then you're just 1 Raider away, which he's going to be flying on the opposite side of the board. And that's probably why Corvus is there. You know, kind of trick you into getting 1 or 2 deployments on one side of the board, and then move the Raider at the conclusion of that to the opposite side, so that you can stay on the board with 2 flotillas effectively in a bunch of squadrons. At least that's my thinking.
Hard to
Yeah.
get tabled, right? With that approach.
I would agree.
So I'm very much so, I stick to what my game plan is with my fleet. So if I want to be first, I'm going to take first. If I want to be second, I'm going to take second. It really doesn't matter what the other player has. So choosing, like, if it's going to be my objectives or their objectives, whatever my strategy was prior to hitting this player, I would just stick with it. So I would pick whatever player I was going to be wanting to be with my fleet.
Yeah, I think I would go probably second, just to control some of the objectives, and what he's gonna have to pick. But it's a really predictable fleet. You know, it's a clean ISD2 Raider. You know what the squadrons are gonna do. You know who's gonna go first, who's gonna activate who, and so you can kind of plan for like how they're gonna alpha strike you, and then prepare accordingly. But you know, yeah, I mean, we know why it's strong. The ISD2 hits hard, and those squadrons are just gonna cut you up, especially Merrick Steele and Vader. I've just been getting slaughtered by TIE Defender Vaders lately myself. But yeah, I'd probably take second, just to, you know, he has to choose from my objectives. Maybe he'll choose something that takes a little bit of away from his ability to use his squadrons, because this whole thing hinges on them doing well. But yeah, I mean, I got nothing special to add here.
I think, sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, I take first. I think with fighter fleets, I would rather have first over a fighter fleet. Give myself the chance to activate my ship before it gets nuked off the board in that one big activation. And I think if I bring squadrons of my own, there's a real advantage going first versus another fleet's squadron heavy. So I'm generally more comfortable going first anyway. Yeah, just kind of in general. So
yeah, I think what's interesting is the actual fighter makeup. A lot of times you see the classic Vader, Steele, Jendon, Mauler, like those are all common, but the other squadrons in this list is what makes it kind of unique. And that's bringing Tempest, Saber, Gamma, and then the single TIE fighter. And that combination is actually really, really good if you just look at those 4 squadrons as a whole. If you run up against someone that doesn't have squadrons, then Tempest and Gamma are both bombers to get more damage in, and they're both black-dyed bombers. So that's going to do some pretty good damage. Tempest has Escort, which in turn is going to help you keep Darth Vader alive because they have to sink 5 shots into it before they can shoot Vader then. I'm a huge fan of Saber Squadron, especially with Jendon, to try to snipe out squadrons like Anakin without having taking that basically guarantee counter too. And then you can like throw that TIE fighter in just to lock things down, and then like Saber Squadron can use that as a swarm point. I think this is a pretty concise group of fighters here, so I really like that.
It's a good size package too, 124 points. It's a little bit less than your max, but you know, it's got a little bit of everything in there. Right? It's going to be dangerous if you're going up against it. And then if you want to use Vader, you've got Tempest there for the escort, just to kind of keep him off your back. Because you know, I know when I've run Vader, I'm usually using was it Tell to kind of keep him alive. So I don't know. I kind of like it actually. I agree.
It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting if the on Gergerod is on the ISD instead of the Raider. I wonder. I'd be interested to know. Normally, you kind of think of that as a lifeboat, but I guess like if the ISD dies anyway, like the Raider doesn't need Jerry because it's so maneuverable. So why not save points? Try to make a pinata and bulk everything up on your one big activation. I guess.
Yeah. Also, I'm always torn whenever I'm using Raiders specifically as lifeboats, because it is a point investment. It's like it ends up usually being like this Raider is 46 points of your fleet that isn't really going to be in combat if you put your Admiral on it. So if you don't put your Admiral on it, like you can kind of just fly it in. It can do some flacking or be like a ramming missile basically into an opponent's ship before it blows up. But at the same time, you do lose like that protection from surprise attack.
That's a great point. Not putting your Admiral on it gives you the opportunity to use it as a combat ship. I like that. That's which I bet that's what they're doing here, because you know Raiders can hit hard. You know, you con fire and you know roll a couple black dice, and you know,
yeah, 2
So
blues, 2 blacks. That's
here's an
you
interesting.
don't want to be shooting it. You know, like you want to be focusing on other stuff.
Take a look at this though, point wise. And John, actually, I thought about this when you started talking about using the Raider as the lifeboat. Raider 1's 44 points with Corvus is 2, and then if you move Jerry on there, you're at 69 points. For 70 points, you've got a Gladiator 1 with a demo title and external racks. So you're right. For moving, you don't have the command. If you have the commander on Corvus, you're basically taking out the equivalent of a demolisher that you could potentially use. And that's a much better ship to use to kill stuff. So when you're looking at the lifeboat, yeah, back in the days when you could throw them onto a flotilla, small point investment, then 40 points, big deal.
Yeah, I think this allows, like, honestly, every time I've ever played a lifeboat with a Raider, it's always like over here, and I'm like, I feel like it should be actually contributing besides, just the drop off squadrons and jump to the other side of the table. I think this, you could just, who cares if it dies? Like, out of everything in this fleet, the thing that I care the least about is Corvus.
Right, and he's gonna time it well too. Like he'll bring it in after his ISD-2 arrives in shooting range, right? He'll bring it in, it'll pop off its side and front arc, and then when it's time for them to shoot, they're not gonna waste their shot on you because there's this chance they can take the ISD down, so that, or it's not worth the shot on the Raider, and then they're gonna hop away, and then that'll be it. It'll take its 2 shots, and then it'll disengage.
Or you fly it right into the middle of the squad ball
Yeah,
to black flak everything twice. but you wouldn't be willing to do that if your commander was on it. That's just kind of my take on that.
Good insight.
So, okay, let's go to the next fleet. I believe Garrett, you're taking this one.
Yeah, that is me. We've got Michael B. And he flew a Martuk, Patriots Fist, Munificent Star Frigate fleet, which is awesome. All right, so he had Martuk on his Munificent Star Frigate with the Rune Hako, thermals, Pittix, the point defense ion cannons, and LTTs. On his second Mooney, he had Tykes, thermal shields, and another LTTs, of course, for them red die. And then his Recusent was Shumai for those rerolls, the Vet Gunners, APTs, swivel mounted batteries, which is awesome. Patriots Fist, and then he brought the new Gazanti cruiser for the CIS and put TI 99 on there to boost the counter. Because he did bring, I want to say
6.
6. Yeah, the screen's right behind my camera. 6 vultures, and he's running at 399. So he's not super concerned about any bids, but his objectives were most wanted, asteroid tactics, and infested fields, which I think is a fine makeup for this fleet. Yeah, I mean, we've seen this a lot at tournaments now. The Martuks, Patriot Fist, Star Frigate, it's punchy, it's very clean to fly. You're gonna get a lot of shots off with that extra red from Martuk on those Moonies, and then that Patriot Fist is gonna come in, and with the swivels, it's even better. Because then he can really throw in that extra black die out the front when he directs it wherever he wants to go with a Patriot's Fist shot. And then guaranteed a lot of rerolls with veteran gunners and Shumai.
I love that combo, the veteran gunners Shumai. I have not ever seen that before.
Yeah, he's like,
On
this is
Patriots
gonna
Fist.
happen.
Yeah.
Which is just, and the APTs, so it's just like, you're gonna take 15 damage, automatic APT, feel free to brace, I don't care. Your ship is dead.
Yeah.
So I think he's probably gonna be going, first. I'm gonna assume, especially anymore, everyone's running such heavy bids. But what objectives, if you were to take against this fleet, would you? Most wanted, asteroid, or infested?
I take most wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I know, he's going to put the most wanted on his Gazanti. I'll have it on one of my ships, but
Yep.
I don't, it's adding another dice to his Martuk fleet. I get it, but
That's a lot. That's scary, especially for
it is a lot of dice.
the
It's scary.
Recusent.
I'm having second thoughts.
We're getting into
The Recusent's throwing 4 reds plus Martuk, 5 reds
plus swivel,
plus
the
swivel,
black.
black dice plus Confire, black
Take
dice
it back. I don't want that.
plus Patriot Fist, 2 blue dice, and then let's most wanted in a black dice.
No, I take it back.
Man.
I'm taking asteroid tactic.
What's one more die, Ryan?
You're
It's
5
just one-
minutes into it, and they haven't even hit a chance to reroll yet. He's still adding all of his dice. It doesn't care about thermal shields. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I take that back.
Yeah,
Oh,
asteroid
reroll.
tactics is also what I would take, no question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
me
would
too.
as well.
What about you, Ken?
Yeah,
Asteroid tactics all the way. I mean, I was sitting there. I think my initial thought was, along the same kind of lines as Ryan. Well, what about most wanted? Then I realized 2 things. One, that's going to be all 4 of his ships that get that extra die against. Granted, it's only against 1, but of course it's going to be against my flagship. And yeah, as I started thinking about it just a little bit, and I don't need a 18 die first round shot. Because I just happen to be in the wrong spot, right? Talk about obliterating your fleet, and then I think it's worth double, right? Destroyed worth double,
Yeah,
but
it
not
doubles
the upgrade,
the
just
ship.
the main ship. So that's almost a guaranteed 70 extra points with this fleet. So you don't want to take it. And then if you have enough, if I had no fighters, I might consider infested fields, just because maybe have some. Well, you have the extra Goths and asteroid tactics, though, also, don't you? So,
And then you have to land on the obstacles to gain the tokens. That's why I wouldn't take infested
yeah,
fields.
that's true.
It's looking at this, it's like 100% I'll be playing asteroid tactics. So have fun with your Exargoths.
And looking at TT, tabletop TO here, they scored a whopping 807 MOV, and that wasn't from tokens, right? That's just from this fleet just blowing ships up.
Yep.
This is awesome. Like this is a fleet that wants to fight, right? Like we're not playing your objective games, we're not here to farm, we're going in, we're gonna smash. I love it.
Yeah.
That Recusant too. We are sort of in like this weird MSU small ships are powerful meta, like sort of like we're going there maybe. That Recusant, Patriot's Fist is here to blow up your small ship. Like I
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you, Patriots Fist, for existing to kill off the MSU meta, because
You're pretty
MSU
much
meta
killing
going.
it a ship
Yeah.
a turn if it's a small ship.
Yeah,
Especially like if you line it up on the turns that you have the double rerolls, it's like you're rolling so many dice. It's like, okay, so there's my 3 accuracies. Plop them over here, and I'm going to pick up everything. I'm going to re-roll it. There's my APT. So you take an APT to your 4-hull ship and then take 7 damage. Good luck. That's pretty much what it's going to look like. So
I like
yeah,
what's also up at 399 points. I almost get the feeling he doesn't care if he goes first or second. He goes
Big
first, he
confidence.
kills the ship faster. And if he goes second, you're faced with, such wonderful objective choices.
yeah. The biggest weakness I think that this fleet has is the weakness that is the Munificent. It's only speed 2. So if someone wants to not let you shoot at them, they pretty much can, because you're never going to chase them down. That's one advantage like that, like Imperial Star Destroyers and Venators have, like, they can go that speed 3 and they can chase a ship down if they need to. Or I don't know, all the rebel ships that can go speed 3. So basically, if your Recusant can't get to them, then your Munificents, like, you got to line them up right. So it's like you got to time how you drop your ships in deployment so you can have them in range.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about his just bonus of 6 vultures.
Yeah.
TI-99. I mean,
Yeah.
how annoying, right? As if they stay within range of that Gazanti and they're attacking, it's just counter 3 from each of them, and they don't care. Like, they're just cannon fodder, literally there to die and just
Yeah.
ruin everyone else's squad balls. Entire
So
plan.
again, because we're clearly all playing asteroid tactics, so he just puts that Exargoths in one place, his fighters that are going to all have counter in another place, and then you have to figure out how to get in there and attack with your squadrons if you have a squadron fleet.
what's
And
the range on TI-99?
Distance 1 to 3.
1 to 3.
Okay.
So you could just have the Gazanti hanging out pretty much behind or inside of your Munificent little bubble.
And it's got scatter and evade, so it's not like it's super evade. It's not super afraid of anything.
Yeah. So I think this fleet would be fun to fly.
Yeah.
Also, high deployment, right? I think we're at 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yes.
That's a healthy amount.
Yep. For cheap, because the 6 vultures. It's like it's like what, 48 points for 3 deployments.
This is the type of fleets I like to be beat by. It's a clean death. Honorable.
We're gonna cross the streams here, so it's like a Klingon fleet.
No one knows what that means, John.
I do. I'm a nerd. So
There's people out there. We still exist.
okay. Any other thoughts on this flight?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Let's move over to the next fleet.
Okay, this is I'll be handling this one. This is from Murray Dunham, who's mechanic on the Discords. He was flying a Munificent Star Frigate with Tykes, Projection Experts, ECM, PDIC, LTT, Tide of Progress. Interesting. And then his flagship with another Munificent Star Frigate with Martuk, Wat Tambor, Projection Experts, ECM, PDIC, LTT, and Sa Nalor. a third municipal star frigate with Rune, projection experts, CCM, PDIC, LCT, and then a hard sell doing a lot of work with the unique double officer hard sell. You don't see that too much with chart officer, Hondo Anaka, auxiliary shield teams, parts resupply, and beasts of burden, all coming in at 400 points. The objectives are ion storm, asteroid mining, and then infested fields. What do you notice about this fleet before we get into objectives? Anything?
I'm going to just talk about chart officer real fast because it's not a card that you see very often. And chart officer is a 2-point card that after you execute a maneuver, if you overlap an obstacle, you may discard this card instead of resolving the effect of overlapping that obstacle. Which you don't really.
Sorry, John, I'm talking over you here.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Does that work with the gravity well? The rift? You ignore the.
Well, it would
So,
only.
if you were to land on it directly, your speed's set to 0. But if you land near it, I believe it reduces your speed depending on the objective.
But does chart officer overrule landing on the rift? So I wouldn't be speed 0.
Correct, but you would still lose speed for landing near it.
Okay,
So there's 2 different timing effects for that specific obstacle.
Right, I lose the within the distance 1 to 2, speed 1, but I wouldn't drop to 0, which is
correct.
Interesting.
For 1 turn, but would you be going fast enough to be able to make it off of it? That's the
Gotta
question.
get out of
Yeah. You don't see that card very often, so I just wanted to highlight it, and I think it's just to help keep it alive, because a lot of times whenever I've played Beast of Burden, it's just a challenge of getting it into the right position. And if someone kind of can guess where you want to deploy, they can like put an asteroid like right in the middle of where you want to deploy. Like, so your actual combat ships wants to fly around that. And then where do you put your Beast of Burden? Do you just want it to take an asteroid? No, but this allows you to just set up how you want, land on it, and then move forward that 1 turn. That's how I would use it. But yeah, it's not a upgrade card you see very often.
I did see Mechanic talk this fleet a little bit, and he doesn't have any squadrons, as you can kind of see, and his solution was kind of, I'm going to out repair it. I'm going to have projection experts throwing shields at whoever is being shot at by squads and chip damage, and then I have PDIC to try to reduce it a little bit. Just try to outlast it a little bit. Now that's big investment. You're investing a lot to not have squads, but if it works out, then maybe it is an efficient in its own way.
Yes, but if you do look at it, right, so we'll just say that the point defense, the projection, that's 10 points per ship, so that's 30 points. And then he has commanders or officers on each of the ships to help keep them alive. So we'll just average that out to 4 points per ship. So that's 14 points per ship. So we're looking at roughly 42 points invested into trying to out repair squadrons. You're really not going to get a great return of investment in this faction for 40 some points of trying to keep squadrons off of you. So this might be a better answer, because like, what is it in the last fleet? Teaks costs 4 points, I believe, and 6 vultures is 48. So you're looking at 52 points of, I get to counter you 6 total times basically for 3 dice, versus I'm going to try to out heal it. So the cost analysis, I think, is pretty good for that.
Yeah, it's an interesting approach for sure.
Also with the star frigates, you have 2 flak dice, so you have a red and a black, and then you have linked turbo lasers on everything. So if these 3 ships, like if you land into a spot that they can all hit you, your squadrons are gonna feel the pain of all of that flak. So that's another thing. I think you can pretty much shoot off key targets if they try to come at you.
Yeah, this was Mercanic got second in this, so this is a really high placing separatist fleet, which is really cool to see. I should say I think it was 4 rounds of Swiss with a top cut of 2. So just to
Yeah.
give people that framework.
I think this would have been really interesting to watch because when you look at the list, there's not a ton of just like punches, right? It's just a really leveled 4 to 5 or 3 to 4 red dice each round from each ship. I think compared to the last CIS list, this one takes a lot more work to fly mentally. You've got projecting experts you got to think about. You've got these different, the beast and burden and the parts resupply and like when you're going to trigger these things at the right time. I think the hardest thing though is lining up all 3 of your Moonies to get the shots off to actually kill something. Cause you're not gonna kill it 2. You gotta get all 3 in and probably the hard sell too to finish something off before they get away. So I don't know, I noticed that, it's just a lot more taxing. So props to whatever his name was, to flying this. Cause I know that probably was not easy at all.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's go back to if you made them second player, and which objective you would take: Iron Storm, abandoned mining facility, or infested fields.
I'd take infested fields. It's because the Moonies have really strong engineering value. I think it's like 4.
It is.
I'm gonna hope that I have squadrons, so I'm gonna collect some of them tokens up with my squadrons. And yeah, go from there.
Oddly enough, I agree with you. I would take infested fields as well, mainly due to the fact that they can't collect tokens without landing on whatever the obstacles are. So that will do some damage. Not like 2 damage to them is really going to matter, but positioning of the obstacles at the beginning matters a little bit more because you can't just like cheaply, drop a squadron on it to claim that token. And then this is an Arami fleet, so he's not trying to use that to obstruct and gain an advantage. Like, it will help reduce damage, and that will take an effect with thermals because thermals reduces and then you take obstruction, so it's a good defensive for him. But if you're planning on trying to straight out fight him, getting farm for abandoned mining facility isn't fun, and Ion Storm getting crits triggered at long range isn't fun either. So I think it would be the objective that would hurt the least.
Yeah, so the player who got 5th this turn was Jason Diedrich, who we've seen a lot lately. He was flying his Akbar MSU fleet, and I believe he played Mercanic in this and gave Mercanic first with the big bid, and so Mercanic took Jason's asteroid mining card and was able to flip it surprisingly, and he used Wat Tambor to do it, which was the most interesting use, because normally I think of Wat Tambor as helping me grab shields from other ships and put shields on my own ship, but he was using Watt's ability to generate tokens from abandoned mining facility, which I thought was just like a really ingenious way to use Watt that I've never seen before.
So you could theoretically get it up to what, 10, right? So
you got a token.
Yeah, tokens 2, 6. Wat Tambor would be 4, so 10. And so you could regain a shield or hold on, you can get 3. So you could gain 3 tokens per turn with Wat Tambor if you have a token on your ship and steal 2 ships from the station. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, that's ugly. You gotta be aware of. People gotta be aware of that. That's a
lot of tokens all at once.
That's nice.
That is a lot. I was sitting there kind of running the math through my head in terms of how many tokens could you potentially get with your 3 munificence, which, as Garrett pointed out, that's a lot of engineering right there. So you should be able to collect 1 token from each. So figure at least 4 per turn. But yeah, if you can pull some Wat Tambor shenanigans and gain an extra 2 or 3 in each turn, that's a lot. And there's no way you're going to make up with that. And so yeah, infested fields has to kind of be the way to go here.
And then if you look at it like with Teaks and the Munificent, that can generate 6 per turn. So that's 2 tokens per turn on the station. And you can do pretty much the same thing with Rune Hakao. You can gain that many. And then like, so that juicy 1 turn that Watam Bor is deciding to completely deplete one of the dust clouds. A dust cloud scores 1 token for every 2 points. And if he's getting 10 points, that means that 1 turn that he decides to deplete it, he gets 5 tokens. That's as much as like an entire other fleet, if they were concentrating on that dust cloud, would get in 1 turn in just one boom, 1 swift go.
Is that 70 points? Is that what?
So they're 10 points a pop.
Yeah, so
10
that's
points,
50
okay.
points in 1 activation.
But you could theoretically, your first 3 activations, you activate the other ships and gain 3 more points off that same dust cloud, right? So
Yeah.
there's an 8 turn or an 80 points of objective tokens in 1 turn if you do it right.
I think because abandoned mine facility is so prevalent out there, you need to be on the lookout for this. I was really kind of a meta changing type of trick that he pulled off.
Props, because that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
W-
What was the object? Do we know what the objective was on that top table, the top 2 cut table?
I believe
Farmhawks.
it's a
objective.
Farmhawk, so
No,
yeah,
but, oh, was it theirs?
Yeah.
Did they have? I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't. He took first, or the Starhawk player gave him first. So
I
he didn't get to use his objectives.
could go on an entire rant about how much I despise top 2 cuts and everything, and that's why it's like the top cuts of Worlds has always been really boring to watch for that grand championship, because it's like 2 players just not wanting to engage, and then it's like last turn, can I kill your fighter for 5 points to win it? Like that's how I feel about it.
That's great. So we're all infested fields, so I think.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So what's odd is this entire, like, sometimes we all disagree all the time. Not today. Everything's like pretty much we're all in sync in which objectives we would take.
Yep.
Okay, are we ready to jump to the winning list?
Yes.
Boo. I'm just kidding. Sorry, Eric. I love you.
Okay,
'cause he-
so
It's because he had a TTS or a tater system.
this is why he won. It gave him that extra power that he needed to get
100%.
through the day. Okay, so this is Eric's first place list. I'm gonna cover it because I've played this Farmhawk before. This is a very different Farmhawk, and I'll touch on the things that are different with it. So to start, this is a Starhawk Battleship Mark 1. A lot of times when you see Farmhawks, they are Mark 2s. It has Crystal Agate, Whalix Ballistics, and then it has Ramus and Tilly's on it. So Ramus allows you to reveal a dial and then take a token of the same type. Boarding Troopers, which is one of my favorite things to put on Starhawks. I love Boarding Troopers. Point Defense Ion Cannons, Link Turbo Lasers, and then I've not seen it really competitively. He has the Magnite Crystal Tractor Beam Array, which is a very expensive 10-point upgrade, and it allows you to, at the end of your activation, you may exhaust this card to choose 1 enemy ship at distance 1 to 5. That ship's speed is increased or decreased to match your speed. While you are at speed 0, you cannot ready this card. And I'm going to get back to that in a second, because I've had some thoughts on this card specifically, because I've been thinking about it with this list. Then you have the Mark 1 only title, the Concord. After you deploy, gain an additional salvo token. While defending, if your speed is 0 during your spend defense token step, you may spend 1 defense token. So you can just sit at speed 0 and still use Agate and get whatever token you want to spend, which is pretty sweet with that. So going to the Magnite Crystal Tractor Beam, one of the things that is good against the Starhawk is MSU. And a lot of times that's because they can skirt around you and get into your side. And how I foresee using the Magnite Crystal is if I'm just cruising at 1 and a Corvette tries to jump in front of me, wham, now that Corvette's going 1, it's not going to be able to escape my dice. So it can help to lock things into a place that you can kill them, or lock them into a place that we'll get to in a second, the fighters can kill it. I don't know, mainly because I haven't played it or seen it played, if it's worth dropping to a Mark 1 to gain that card, because a Mark 1 versus a Mark 2 is a 10-point difference. So a 10-point card makes it in essence the same. So you have to decide on that. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. You can like slow ships down on your side so they can't outflank you. Or you can just sit at speed 0, let them come in, and then try to alpha strike into them if they choose a certain objective of yours. So it's interesting. I haven't seen it, so I've been thinking about it a lot. He has 2 other ships. They are GR75, and it has Ahsoka Tano. And then there's a GR75 with Adar Talon. Ahsoka works well with Ramus Antilles, so you can get tokens and change tokens to what you need them to be with her. And then fighters. He has Lando Calrissian, Shara Bay, 3 YT-2400s, Gold Squadron, and 2 VCX 100s, which is how you know this is a Farm Hawk. And then the standard Farm Hawk objectives of advanced gunnery, fiery lanes, and sensor net. So it also has a 14-point bid, which is on the higher end of bids that we have seen so far for Farmhawks. So this is pushing the envelope. At the time, I think I had an 11-point bid, and I was like one of the highest bids for Farmhawks. This has an additional 3 points. I think those points are from dropping points in squadrons mainly. Downgrading a YT-2400 from 16 points down to a Gold Squadron saves right there 4 points. So you got to find somewhere to save the points. What are your guys' thoughts on this list compared to other Farm Hawk lists that you've seen?
My first thought was the Concorde and the Magnite Crystal Tractor Beam. So I agree with you. The difference between the Mark II and the Mark I is that 10 points. So you get the Magnite thrown in there, and point-wise, you're added the same. What Concorde does, and I don't think it's so much having the salvo as much as the being able to still use one defense token when defending at speed 0. So you drop to speed 0, you Magnite Crystal something, and then you can salvo. And the one big difference between a Mark I and a Mark II in terms of the salvo, you're still firing 2 reds, but you're firing a black instead of a blue. So a little bit higher probability for that extra damage. So I'm wondering if that isn't part of it. And I think I missed the objectives. What were the objectives on this fleet?
Standard Farm Hawk, so advanced gunnery, firing lanes, and sensor net. Yeah. I don't think Concorde is really there at all to gain the salvo. The salvo token I don't think really matters. I think it's the ability to sit at speed 0 and still use a defense token. Because like a lot of my like sparring matches that I've had, like big matches that I would have to kill something, like I'm very comfortable dropping to speed 0 with it, but this is like just guaranteed. Like the one time I dropped to speed 0 just because moving forward, moving into an ISD's medium range, it was better to just take the ISD with no reroll for red dice. I suffered. I took 6 damage. With this, I would be able to sit there, take the 6 damage, reduce it with a brace to 3 damage, and like then you move into me, I drop you to speed 0, and then I hit you with everything. Like it works out pretty well. Like if you take the advanced gunnery and they do his speed 0 shenanigans, then you're getting hit twice in the same hull zone with no defense tokens at all. And if you move into me even more, then I boarding trooper, and then you can use your tokens, then I drop you to speed 0, and then I just crunch you. It's probably pretty good at killing other Starhawks, to be honest.
That's the thing, because people say take the red, take the advanced gunnery. You can't do it.
Yeah. Or run away. Like, okay, I'm gonna just cruise at speed 2. Your speed 4 ships now speed 2. Your speed 4 ships now speed 2. Your speed 4 ships now speed 2. I will eventually catch you. It keeps people from running away.
It's scary. I haven't seen a lot of tractor beam, so it's pretty scary. I always generally don't play well against speed control tactics like Phylons or Constantine or whatnot. So I would have trouble with this one for sure. I generally hate giving this ship a combat advantage. I'll keep saying that. So I will not give you advanced gunnery. It's not the most oppressive fighter ball, right? Like with Gold Squadron in there instead of another rogue squadron, usually what you see. So you can outfight the fighter ball,
Yes.
which if you can pin those VCXs down, and maybe you're talking, maybe I can do something with fire lanes. I'll never say I know it's always a bad choice, but because it's a little less shooty of a fighter ball, fire lanes may not be like an awful choice here. That being said, I'd probably take sensor net.
Yeah. Also, just to note, one of the main differences between the Starhawk Mark 1 and Mark 2 is the dice range that the dice have. So, like the flak range for a Mark 2 is red blue compared to this, which is blue black, and all of the arcs, I believe, have in the Mark 1 an additional black dice instead of an additional blue dice. So your damage range brackets is much closer in on a Mark 1. So it's kind of challenging you to come into it. And then with the tractor beam, it can hold you at whatever range kind of it wants to, which this is where doesn't matter if which hawk you take. So it's just things to consider.
Yeah. So I love this list. I love this list purely because he's bringing a Starhawk and doing the thing. I've been asking people to do the thing for years. They don't do it, but I love the fact that the tractor beam's on there. It makes my plan of where I like try and like come up next to it and then shoot at it and run away. It ruins it. But I like the fact that he can speed 0 you on one ship. And then if you have another ship, he's like, boarding troopers. And then he gets rid of those defense tokens, has your other ship at speed 0. I mean, how frustrating would this be? Yeah, I don't know. I love it. I just love the fact to put the tractor beams on it because I'm always told, no, don't put the tractor beams on the Starhawk. It's not good. But he's like, hey, I'm 5-0. Get wrecked. St. Lawrence Open. World's ticket. So I love it so much.
Yeah, I think I've
obviously-
only. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. SensorNet. I don't even waste my time with the other ones. I've been beaten in every way possible by this list. SensorNet, I feel a little less bad about it, and easy choice. You're right about the weaker squadrons. I would kill some, maybe a GR75, and yeah, but yeah, that's all I got to add to that. Is Eric, awesome job for making this list interesting again and making it. I don't know. I'm gonna get beat by this exact thing here pretty soon somewhere. So
I think, yeah. Ruben, one of our local players in Kentucky, is probably taking a hard look at those tractor beams and
he's like, oh, now I have 17 viable rebel lists.
yeah. Shout
That's
out
funny.
to Eric for putting the command stack sponsored card too on the which is boarding troopers. We need to do a custom boarding trooper card. Maybe
Yeah.
like
It's
our faces could be in it. Could be
that's
like
what I just said.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We'll need to add another trooper in there, but we could be the boarding troopers,
Yeah.
part of the command stack.
I like that. I'm going to start working on a Photoshop change of that. Will have to be a subtitle, and it'll have to be, marked as a unique card, right?
Yes.
So just, yeah, I'm going to say this about the list because I'm looking at it, and I think the scariest part here And John, when you were talking about your farm hawk fleet, you kind of brought this up. The linchpin here is clearly if you lose that Starhawk, you're going to lose big, most likely. I mean, this is loaded up just to do a gate, the tractor beam, Concord. That's 182 points, which is pretty much half your fleet. Then you throw on the other extra couple upgrades, and you're over 200. You know, even with fire lanes or sensor nets, that's a lot of tokens you need to be able to make up if you lose that Starhawk just to kind of start to break even. So you have to take a few ships out to be successful with this list. I mean, clearly he was, but that's still a huge point investment. Then again, it's a Starhawk. I mean, it's an investment to begin with.
So the Starhawk Farm Hawk list, they either get 10 ones, 1 10s, or 6 5s. That's usually what I say. It ends up usually being closer to 8s. But the tokens, if you just let someone farm tokens the entire game, I can usually get up to, how many tokens is it? 17 tokens with SensorNet if you don't come over and mess with me at all. And that's usually what I get with firing lanes with someone coming to attack me. So you have to be able to make up for like 250 odd points. So basically you have to table me. And
Well,
that's what's the
and
challenge
quickly.
of it.
Like,
Yeah.
because you can, it's really one unfortunate part of this is if you could kill him, the Starhawk, by turn 6, right? And still not get a very big win.
Yes.
Because they've been farming the whole time. And so like if you are going to nuke it, you need to do it by turn 4 to get any kind of a sizable victory.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
And not lose
you're-
anything.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing that scares me about this list, because I'm just sitting here thinking how I would play against it with like my Kraken list. And if I really wanted to go and try and take out a Starhawk, I'm flying all of my MC-30s as close as possible to it to dump my torpedoes, you know, all that black dice shenanigans, and then get away. So it's going to be one shot with 3 MC-30s, and I'm gone. This list is going to have one easy time dropping to speed 0, capturing one of them. And I'm going to definitively lose one of my MC-30s, and I'm already planning on losing one of them anyways with normal fire. So I can see this taking out 150 points, 160 points worth of stuff before I could potentially kill this thing. So when you start looking at that, then you tack on another 150 points of tokens. You're now at 300 points. I maybe can take 200 out with the Starhawk. So 400 points if I, you know, with the table. That's a 100-point difference. And you can easily get 100 points one way or the other. Another Starhawk goes and I've lost regardless if I can table you or not.
Yeah. And especially with speed 0 shenanigans, like if you look at most people's deployments, right? So most people deploy standard, not super aggressive, speed 1 or speed 2. If you put a Starhawk at the back edge, it's going to take them 3 turns to get into range. 3. So that means they have 3 turns to kill you. And that starts at red range. So that's me historically. And on that last turn, I usually jump to like on turn 3 into turn 4, I jump to speed 1. So then I'm not, you know, a sitting duck, but this doesn't care about that. So that means you can sit at speed 0 for 4 turns with this list and not care. So in really 2 turns, are you going to be able to take it down to the question? Because most people timidly approach it. You got to like full on commit to killing it and sprinting across to do it. Because if you just let it sit there, your countdown clock of do you have enough turns to do it isn't there. And that's something that Jason and Jason and honestly, he plays pretty much 3rd at every tournament with his Akbar CR90 list talked about. Is that if he tried to move forward and engage me 1 turn earlier, he would have killed my Starhawk. But this was one of the first times that he had played it. And so I made a mistake. I bumped my transport, left myself then out of range of his stuff, which actually saved my Starhawk. But all he needed was 1 more turn of a couple ships shooting at it to kill me. Because that counter of how much defense tokens I have, how fast I can spend them, how much damage I'm taking in is very tight against a fleet that can actually kill this. So you need to be very, very aggressive. Like I know he spent a turn collecting the abandoned mining tokens. What I was really afraid of is him just pointing all of them at me and just speed 4ing me across the table, because then he would have gotten to me on like turn 2-ish. And then like I have to survive somehow for 4 additional turns, and I'm only regenerating 6 shield or 6 engineering a turn. So that's 3 shields a turn. And he's hitting me with like 4 CR90s with TRCs. So that's right there, 8 damage automatically, plus whatever else he's putting in with Akbar. Like I can't survive that. So like charge a Starhawk. That's the only way how to kill it. That's just my opinion, but that's a long rant.
I mean, even if you do advanced gunnery, right, and you're just like, I'm just gonna run from it. It's the speed I guess the tractor beam has a range of 5, and so it's a big bubble to slow you down. And so unless you have a super nimble ships, it's not possible to run from it, because if you do land in that bubble and he speeds 0 you are dead with advanced gunnery. You are not going to get your ship to be able to move. So the other versions of the Farm Hawk, you could take the advanced gunnery and you could try to run. This is not one of those. This is a hateful hawk.
Yeah, and while you can try to run, it can get to, if you put it in the middle of the table, the Starhawk at speed 2, I can get to any single corner of the table before turn 6. So you have to be pretty good at hiding. I'm going to find you. And then my fighters are all rogue. Like they're going to catch up to you too. And that's something you not even to take into consideration. Like you drop them to speed 0 and then you hit them with all of your fighters and they get no defense tokens. So like, here's Lando 2 damage, here's Lando 2 damage, here's all your YT 2400s, here Gold Squadrons 2 damage. And then because I have nothing better to do with my fighters, I hit you with the VCXs too. Like you're talking about 10 damage with no defense tokens against ships that are speed 0. And then the next turn starts and like, hopefully you have a nav plan so you can go up from speed 0, but you're still sitting there inside of the Starhawk range and the fighter ball.
This is I think, you know what? I think this is the scariest hawk that I've seen. The speed 0. I love when players find, things that have been out for a while and do new stuff with them. The boarding trooper, Magnite, Concorde, Farm Hawk is that. It is something new and it is very, very scary.
It's just amping it up.
And a huge bid, right? 14 points. We got to talk, just a little bit about that. That 14-point bid. It's the biggest bid that we were kind of seeing in the competitive scene right now.
Yeah. But we're nowhere near what we used to be for farming lists. Like farming lists used to be close to 30 points. So we're amping it up. If people want to continue down this path, they're going to have to figure out how to cut more points.
I'm going to say this just kind of as an aside. I think we need to, no one can exert any pressure, but like, I really think SensorNet and Fire Lanes need to be retired temporarily, at least until, I just think they need to be retired. They need to be rotated out. SensorNet was, I think, the first objective, right? Was in the first wave of objectives, and Fire Lanes was in the second. And
they were both in the first.
They were both.
I believe so.
I think Fire Lanes. Okay, one of them. I don't know. Maybe I have that backwards, but they're both at least in the first 2 releases of objectives. And I think we've just, with certain things like strategic and whatever other kind of fleets, they've been turbocharged in a way that I don't think was intended to be, that they were intended to be turbocharged in a way. And we just we gotta think about getting them out.
You are correct. SensorNet is from the Carillion conflict. Fire Lanes is the original
So
one.
when they did Fire Lanes, when they released Fire Lanes, they didn't have any strategic, right?
Nope.
So, This is just a consideration. Not to say, I don't want to take anything away from the list, play with what's legal, but I do think it's a conversation that if anyone's developing the game, they should be thinking about having.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I brought the Farm Hawk is like I've said it before on this podcast that 2 of the factions literally can't play my objectives. So
Right.
that's a huge advantage when I don't even have to plan for it. What I have to worry about is can the Gar come across the table and table me? And for the most part, Gar can't. Can the CIS come across the table and table me? Sure, if they're built right. But that's all I have to worry about. My objectives, they can't touch. Imperial, no one's bringing generic lambdas. So that rolls out like 3 out of the 4 factions from even being able to play my objectives, which when you're doing like paper, rock, scissors in your head and like checking off, can I deal with these lists? Like, I don't have to really worry about playing my objectives with 3 of the 4 factions. That's crazy for all the check marks I can put up.
I do want to try at some point if I can just throw like some A-wings in at those VCXs and just lock those VCXs down, see what it would do in a Farm Hawk list. And does that slow your fire lanes down? Does that slow your sensor net down if I just kind of lock those VCXs down? I'm never going to get a chance to practice this because I'm not going to be able to enough time to practice, but it's a thought that I have that I'm just kind of curious about.
So I have had someone try to lock me down, and it was at the Chicago Open. I believe his name's Michael. He plays Sato and plays it really well. And he charged me hard at the beginning, and he had a bunch of squadrons, but I knew that my squadrons were going to possibly be locked down. And I just left my VCXs on a station. And as soon as his fighters came in, I pinned them down with my other squadrons with like Shara. And then I took the token because, you can just shift a little bit on the station and it counts as moving. So I can strategic a token from like that side of the board. And I just put them under their fighters. So if you do try to land fighters near me, I don't even attack them. I just stack tokens under you. So that's how I deal with someone trying to get their fighters in and lock the VCXs, because then as soon as the tokens are under you, I just leave your fighter there the rest of the game and I don't have to worry about moving them.
Well, there goes that idea.
Sorry. I saved you the time of having to suffer trying to play against it. So
There's no way out.
no, the firing lanes is by far the worst objective to pick, I think, against it. Sensor net, it's okay, but like it's taxing, and that's what I say to everyone that I play against. Like, it's taxing to worry about where I'm moving my token so it's in range of my ships, so then you can move the token away from me, so then I have to try to figure out how to move the token back to where it was.
Okay, here's the trick.
Mentally exhausting for that.
All right, so here's the trick for your opponent not to be exhausted by sensor net. Just move it back. Move it literally in the direction that your opposite your fleet is going every single time. Don't think about it. Don't waste any mental energy. And at least the VCXs will be out of the squad war at that point. So you have an advantage in the squad war at that point. So
yeah, that's the most mentally exhausting one. As the second player, I think, is trying to figure that out. So
I guess the answer is just, oh, sorry, Ken.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that the problem we have now is we know how to defeat John and his Starhawk, and he's never going to play it again. So
Well, now he's gonna bring Concord tractor.
I don't know. This is I haven't played Tractor Beam and I haven't seen it since the release. So that's why I've thought a lot about this list when I saw it, because I haven't seen it. I haven't played. I think I played it once against Ken on the channel. And that was like episode 3 or something dumb. It was like in the first,
it was
maybe
one of the
like
very first ones we did. I think it was probably the first or second one where we had the
Starhawk.
Wave 8 stuff out. Yeah.
Because I started with Radis because that's what I always do. And then I went to this because I really wanted to see what it does. But like I haven't used it since because there hadn't been a reason to. And this gives it a reason to. And I'm really excited for that because it's a 10-point card. Like, it's clearly costed because it's powerful.
Well,
and
it's
been
really
ignored
22 points, right? Because you have
That
to
is
take
true.
Concord. You have
That
to.
is true.
Yeah.
And
But Yeah, I don't know. I think when I think about this, like, okay, I'm bringing a GIR fleet to something, right? And at this point, do I just bring a 30-point bid? I don't know what else to do, right? Like, I can't beat this with those objectives. So it's like, okay, 30-point bid, leave a Pelta at home, just forget it, and take my second player.
Yeah, you could bring some more squadrons or just add some upgrades.
Yeah,
I like the idea of just leaving the Pelta at home, though. I mean, it's just
Well,
yeah.
I
This
had a
rings.
400 point fleet, but I left the Pelta at home, so now it's 368 points. So.
I would
Well-
like to think like maybe that Yularen, Venator, Arc 170, RBD, rapid launch bays or whatever it's called. Yeah, rapid launch bays against this might have a chance if you're second player. But even then, like, it's gonna be rough.
So what's interesting though is this list gets better with the tractor beam when it's first player.
Yeah, but at least you
That's
don't,
what's scary about it.
at least you're not in a 250-point deficit before the game even starts.
Yeah.
True. I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah, that's the demoralizing part, I think, about some of these lists. Like when you fly against them, it's like, okay, well, how do I have to break even and then get like 20 points to get a 6-5.
What you're saying about leaving a ship at home, which I think is funny, back when the fish farm fleets were like really hardcore bidding, at one of the tournaments, a player forgot one of his GR75s at home, and the store didn't have any GR75s because everyone was buying them because people are running like 5-6 of them per
27.
fleet. So he's like, whatever, and he just kind of like crosses it off his paper, and he just took the entire thing for bid. So I think it might have been like the highest on record bid. He was like in like the 350s, 360s for his bid because he just didn't have it, and it didn't matter, and he still won the tournament.
Wow.
So he already outbid everyone before crossing off an entire ship. So
You just wanted to make sure. That's all it is. It's like
Yeah.
just in case someone wants to bring something close to me. Let's
man.
chuck out another 20 points.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, congrats to Eric with this. We've talked a lot about Starhawks, but this is a completely different
Yeah.
take on it.
It's
So
a cool take.
yeah,
It's a
I like
brutal
it.
take, but it's yeah. Congrats to Eric. It's a big. Got your world's ticket.
And then also congrats to the second place. You had his Discord tag, right?
Mechanic. Yeah.
Yep. Congratulations on taking second. So five games in one day is rough. So
Yeah.
so do we have anything else we want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Andor's amazing. Watch it.
Yes.
Support
Yes,
it.
it is.
Tell Disney that's what you want.
And then Tales of the Jedi is coming out soon too, right? Another day or two.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
that should
that's
be
I
good too.
believe the 28th, and we get to see. I believe this is spoiler, so close your ears, but it's in a trailer. And then they're talking about it online. I believe it's Dooku versus Yaddle, who's the female version of Yoda. They apparently are going to get into saber fight, so I'm kind of excited to watch that.
Nice. Nice.
So
All kinds of good Star Wars content coming up. Mandalorian next year coming up, Ahsoka show. So and then we have another 6 episodes. Well, as of the recording, we have another 6 episodes of Andor.
yeah, it's crazy to think that we're only halfway done with this season.
Yeah. And we know there's going to be a second. I think they said there was going to be a second one, right?
Yeah, originally I
so.
think they said that it was written as 5 seasons, and they chopped it down to 3 seasons, and they're currently filming season 2.
Yeah, and a hefty 12 episodes per season. It's
Oh,
amazing.
it's good. Hopefully it's got the same writing and attention to detail as this season has. So one of the things I've enjoyed so much about it is that they kind of humanized everyone, and like, not saying that bad guys should be humanized, but it's when you have such a large bureaucracy of the Empire that replaced the Republic, it's not really conceivable that everyone necessarily is evil. That's just a statement. I'm going to hit a little
Yeah,
philosophy.
I really like the
But You
Sorry.
feel everyone like they're clearly the Empire's evil. I'm not even gonna get around that. And the people that are in charge are like really evil, but like under them, it's just people just literally trying to do their job.
Like, oh, can we go see the Eye of the Storm, sir? I don't want to work tonight. I don't want to paint
No.
the floor.
No.
Yeah, I like the slice of life stuff. I never knew I needed to watch somebody eating Star Wars Kix cereal,
I know, right? With blue
but
milk.
it was very important for
milk,
me to
yeah.
see that.
Yeah. So I'm very curious to see what they take place with that certain character. I don't remember his name because I'm terrible with names, but that corporate guy.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where that goes. I've enjoyed the ISB aspect of it. Yeah, all the different aspects of it are really good.
For sure.
Maybe
Well,
we should do a whole episode on that when it's
I
done.
would love to do that. Let's see.
So if you would like to do that, hit us up on Twitter and tell us that's what you want to hear.
yeah, on Twitter.
Oh, you're gonna all of a sudden see a couple hundred comments, Ryan, about how we're wrong on Andor or now we're right on Andor.
At Command Stack, send us it. We're here for your ridiculous Twitterness.
Yeah.
We just need to post more hot takes. We're not doing any hot takes. It's our
I don't
problem.
know.
I
I feel
don't-
like everything
yeah.
we say is hot takes.
Well, we did the Providence drop, or Radis drop of Providence, right?
Oh,
And
the
then-
Suma.
and
the
then,
Suma all
oh, that's right.
things.
Suma all
Yeah.
things.
What should we do next?
Well, Suma of all things, I don't have a release date on that. I don't think anyone does.
It's
but
December.
December-ish soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that was
soon
on
with the
some like
trademark.
European release
Mhm.
documents. It could be a placeholder. So like everything's what's it called? Alleged.
Yeah. And then we always have the shipping issue because like sometimes Australia gets things like 2 years after us, and then sometimes they get it like 6 months before us. So who knows when things are going to arrive places in the world.
Or Fly Casual. Sorry guys.
Well, they'll either get it before us or after, right?
But yeah.
It won't be the same day. I'll guarantee you that.
Guarantee that.
Now watch, just because I said it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think I got anything else.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums us up. It's been good to have all four of us back here. It's been a couple episodes with how busy all of us our lives are. So it's been fun talking to you guys on this again.
For sure.
Ryan, if you want to go over where you can find us, and then we'll sign it off.
Yeah, so listen to one of our many podcasts places. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Catch the video version on the Ion Radio YouTube page. We are on the Discord, Ion Radio Discord. We have a channel. If you want to say something about the show, please join us. And then, of course, really we have Twitter, which I love to engage people with on Twitter. It's my favorite thing. I don't hate myself for having a Twitter account now, finally. So come join us. Come join me. Put me out of my misery on my Twitter account at Command Stack. So that's where we are.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's wrap it up. We are the Boarding Troopers, and this is the Command Stack. I've been John.
I'm Ken.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm Ryan.
And we will catch you later. Thanks for watching and listening.